for the riders on the New York course in a few moments' time. But before we do that, Dave, let's have a look back at some of the spectacular action from the roads of Harrogate in Yorkshire last week. Week 4 men's racing now. They're absolutely romping up this climb, some massive numbers being thrown down.
That's a surge up and over the top, and is that going to be Freddie Ovid? It looks like it is. The Australian is back, and he is in full effect. Last week's winner is crushing souls out here.
We've still got a pretty sizable group here.
You can see it starting to thin out now. A couple more watts here, and Freddie Ovid will be right behind Chris McGlinchey there.
Ottoman from Ikeda there. Back onto the climb, and a few riders on this steeper section. The ones who've got the featherweight power-ups, using them wisely here. There are still 60 riders in this group.
It's unraveling. Freddie Ovid is up near the front. 5K to go.
We've still got around 55 riders in this front group, just showing the depth.
The Austin moving up to the front. Look at this, it's Mateo Cigala.
Harvard Gledner's just ahead of Freddie Ovid, and the ever-present Lionel Villasan. That's his third podium of season 2. That was a blanket close finish here. Well, it really was some breathless racing. We had two completely styles of racing in the men's and women's events, but a real tough kind of field sprint. But as we said, Dave, team time trial, completely a different discipline, especially on a course like we've got tonight. Let's have a little look at the course. If you don't mind doing the honours, Dave, and just giving us a nice description of what the riders are going to face on the mighty Metropolitan this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. It's almost exactly 20 kilometers. You can see just 70 meters more than that, with 319 meters of climbing along the way. This is an extremely lumpy course. The New York King of the Mountain Reverse is going to be the pinch point out here. This is a 1.1 kilometer climb at 5.9%. So what your team looks like as you come over the top of that climb is, I mean, I don't know if you can wait more than a couple of seconds for a fourth or fifth rider at that point. Obviously, the third is the crux of the situation. Out here is all teams starting with 5. But this course, it's not a team time trial today. This is team time trial extreme. We've never seen anything quite like this before. And Matt, I'm really excited for this. This is what the ZRL is all about. When you look at what we're trying to do with the league, well, right at the midpoint now, it's not do or die, but there are some teams that are really going to be trying to eke out a couple extra points, and it's going to come down to not your strongest rider, the third and fourth riders on the team, and what they can deliver out here on this, I think, the most challenging team time trial course that we will ever see in the history of racing on esports.
Yeah, it's certainly going to test the team's resilience, their ability to work as a unit, and I think it's going to test the ability and how they communicate, not just in terms of the tactical side of it, but encouraging the riders to go as deep as they can. That is going to be the real kind of crux here. I think it's going to be very easy for riders' heads to drop here, but you cannot afford to do that, especially if you've already lost a couple of riders. Now, Dave, come off the back of Harrogate. Let's have a look as we head into New York tonight what the series standings are so far. And as we know, it is very close indeed at the top of the rankings.
Yeah,
there we
sure
go.
is.
Canyon Esports. Canyon Esports at the top there. 74 points to the good. Saris and the Pros Closet. Well, they're equal on second. It is very, very tight indeed with the PO Auto Ceramic Speed. Of course, they were the leaders going into last week, but they had a bit of a nightmare race in Harrogate. Legion of Los Angeles in fourth. Dutch Racing, they've got an individual win to their name there in fifth. Callas, with that win last week, has moved them up to sixth. Then we have the Zwift Warriors, new to the Premier Division. Una X Pro Cycling, sadly, they're not racing with us tonight. Kirkmare, one of the revelations of the series so far. And then rounding out the top 10, the World Elite Zwifters. Now, Dave, as we can see at the top there, it's still very, very close indeed. There are the points just leading down to the top 20. And of course, it's worth mentioning as well now, Dave, some of the teams are going to be a little bit nervous because it's not only who is crowned champions at the end of the series. A couple of teams, 3 teams in fact, are going to be dropping down into the lower leagues as well. So there's going to be some nervous times now heading into the final part of the season.
Yeah, and I would say that there's 6 teams that should be worried about that conversation, to tell you the truth. You might draw the line right underneath Bolt Racing there, to tell you the truth. That's one of the storylines out here. I mean, this is what's so dynamic about today, is that there are riders who are sitting right now in the start pen that are very concerned about what they're going to be able to do for the team. As a matter of fact, I'm going to guess that there's going to be sacrificial lambs for these squads as well. This is a day, I want to go back to what you were just talking about, Matt, where the director sportif is going to be one of the most critical roles. As a matter of fact, if you're going to have a good day for your director, today's the day for them to have it, because they are going to be really looking to encourage riders, trying to throttle back some of the strongest riders, and just keep a cohesive unit working together. What a massive challenge this is, makes for incredibly exciting racing. So, we've talked about some of the favorite teams to look at. Obviously, Canyon coming in on top of the table with a nice little buffer right now. They now are in the driver's seat, Matt, no doubt about it. I would always say, don't sleep on Ceres, the pros closet. They're a team that has a very good chance of doing a stunner of a ride out here today. They've got that nice combination of team time trial technique and skills with solid climbing depth. That's going to be the difference. And Matt, I don't think I need to tell you to watch out for Vetus. This might be their day. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't get long odds on them, to tell you the truth. I think anybody who really follows e-racing would think, wait a second. If this is about a team that's got 3 really good climbers, wouldn't that be Vetus with McGlinchey, Mottram and company?
Yeah, the Vitus. You'd think that a course like this would suit them. I think before we came on air, we were talking about the nature of this course, and rather than a team time trial course, I think I've called it a gnarly chain gang course. It's going to suit a group of riders that know each other very well, know their own strengths and their weaknesses, and also are gelled together by either a very, very good road captain or DS. And I do wish that maybe we'll speak to the guys at Zwift headquarters and try and get a GoPro or a camera in with the DSs, because I think there's going to be a couple of DSs tonight, almost like pulling their hair out, because this is going to be stressful all the way along the way. Let's have a little look, a deeper look at some of the teams. I believe we're going to see Canyon, their full lineup. There we go. There's the lineup of Canyon, a team that we know so well. West, Muller, Jones, Vuyasan. You think they could be the team that really pull it off tonight, potentially?
Well, and you know what? They have the pedigree. They absolutely are the team to beat, I think, on paper here. I'll be surprised. I mean, again, they don't have to win out either for the rest of the season. Seconds and thirds are just fine, but I would expect to see them on top of the podium, to tell you the truth. This is a team that is tried and true, and they might be one of the teams that also finishes with more than 3 riders out here, Matt.
Indeed. Well, let's have a look at the lineup of PO Auto. They were the leaders. Anders Foldega, Hansen, Frederick Muff, a very good sprinter, Nicholas Pedersen, Emil Tudal, and Mads Rebeck. Of course, Foldega, already a medalist in the World Championships. That's a team with a lot of depth, but a really different sort of parkour today. And of course, we've never seen them perform on a course like this. Tonight's course presents us with a unique proposition. But if there's a team that could deliver, PO Auto Ceramic Seed could be one of those. Let's have a little look at Saris, Dave.
Yeah, I agree with you on PO Auto Ceramic Speed, Matt, no doubt about it. 2 of those guys were on the podium at Worlds, which has a pretty similar climb. Ryan Larson, Mike Cumming, Gavin Dempster out of Scotland, Dan Fleeman, and Matt Gardner. This is the team I was saying, do not sleep on Ceres, the pros closet. They're going to be right up in the mix. Now, this is going to be, when you talk about a gut check with team time trialing, this is one of the teams that's done their homework. I'm really excited for them to see what they can do. They're one of the teams that comes into this one champing at the bit, Matt, talking about Ceres, the pros closet. And I'll throw it back to you with Team Swedish Zwifters. A lot of experience on this squad.
Indeed. You've got Alexander Wetterall, Johan Noren, Marcus Dorsch, Marcus Sögren, and then Marcus Lindqvist. And interesting rider there, Alexander Wetterall, a very, very good individual time trialist, has ridden at pro continental level on the road as well. And they're a team that kind of, we know they're very, very good all round. It will be interesting to see how they gel tonight, but I think Wetterall could be their key player and be doing a lot of pulls as you look at our final lineup. The men in red talk us through Vitus Esports.
I think one of the really exciting racers in esports is Chris McGlinchey. He's going to have quite a career as a professional, the Northern Irish rider. Then you've got Chris Ashton, Matteo Sigala, Adam Kenway, and Mikey Mottram. This is another team that's going to punch way above their weight out there, Matt. Watch out for Vitas Esports today. I think we've done a really good job of highlighting the teams to watch. Another one that I'd keep my eye on is Legion of LA as well. So here we go. We are locked and loaded. This is not a drill, a pivotal day in the history of the Zwift Racing League. This one is going to be incredibly exciting. We're very close to sending riders out on course, Matt. Here we go. Andiamo.
We are indeed. It's just right on cue. We couldn't have timed that better. Well done to the production team for keying us up so neatly there. We have 30 seconds until the first team goes off. Remember, on today's team time trial course, the runs will be set off at 30-second intervals. The last team will be Canyon Esports, and the first team will be the KISS Racing team. The KRT, the men in blue with a kind of orange and a light blue stripe. They've got 5 riders to go off first. And they'll be rolling off very, very shortly indeed. In fact, they're riding off now. Here they go. And their full lineup, of course, is Tajir Bednar. They've got Timothy Torre, Elliot Holtham, Rob Britt, key standing teams, of course, of Zwift Racing. And this early key part, they need to move off quickly, but they've got to make sure they don't drop everybody. So it's making sure they're talking to each other. This is actually, this roll-off, Dave, was one of the bits that fascinated me when I rode last week with the rockets from Zwift headquarters. It's making sure that everybody's on board and then gradually building things up as quickly as you can and constantly talking to each other.
Yeah, the directors will be on, well, the entire team will be on Discord. Matt, that was extremely cool. Thanks to our production team for showing that, because people have wondered, how does it all start? Well, that was exactly it. The teams have been given their setback time. So you kind of have like Greenwich Mean Time, and then everybody operates on an hour later. Well, in this case, it's 30 seconds that you're waiting for. Matt's exactly right about bringing it up to speed without blowing up the team in the first 200 meters. That's an art form, that's for sure. We've had Ashton Lambie racing with us in the Community League, Matt, the world record holder in the pursuit, and was leading the U.S. Olympic movement for the team pursuit. And that's exactly what we're talking about, getting 4 riders, well, 5 riders ideally. Let's talk about the ground rules here super quickly. Every team should start with 5 ideally. 3 riders, though, is the pinch point. Your time will be taken off of that 3rd rider's wheel. We're going to get right down to brass tacks incredibly quickly here. When you look at this course, if you look at the profile, Matt, if you were in a hospital, you would think you were looking at an EKG of a man who just had a heart attack. It is not a good scene. It's nothing but ups and downs. And ultimately, as a racer yourself, you know that means it's going to be a really hard day when you're racing on the road, point to point. Well, when you're doing a team time trial, that means it's going to be absolutely brutal. And in many different ways. We've talked about the directors, the role that they play, keeping things together. Here's a team that's doing a very good job. No pins R3R here rolling out. They've got those cool kits as well with the cooling gels that they freeze and slide in. You're going to be looking for that. This is Turbo, Matt, that we're picking up with right now. Tanner Ward, Hayden Warner, William Zogabe, Andrew Evans, and Jack Barty out on course. Familiar kit.
Indeed.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, they're out on the course. This early part of the course, remember, very, very quick to roll out. Again, riders have got to make sure that they are talking to each other. And it is amazing, really. Again, we know that there's a benefit of riding on the wheel in real life. There's a big, big saving as we look at draft now. Another team in red, Bruce Bird, Jed Scott, Ryan Rudderham. I can assure you he's riding, although his little picture isn't quite there. Ryan, do send it in on an email, please, mate. Warren Muir is there as well as Ross Fawcett. But it really, to me, last week when I was riding this time trial for the very, very first time, Dave, how much you do save when you get on the wheel of another rider. Really on a course like this is between 30 to 45 seconds on the front. They'll then drop off there. You won't surge, you'll just basically keep the kind of speed high, drop down the line and try and drop into the wheel behind. And generally there can be a difference of a whole watt per kilo from sitting on the back and sitting on the front. You can ride on the front at 450 watts, sit behind at about 320. There's such a big, big saving. So as tight as you can is absolutely crucial as we look at restart racing into the early part of the course.
Well, well said, Matt. The thing, when you watch that, the critical moment for every rider, the crux of the situation is when you come off of the front after your big effort, you're exposed, and being able to slot right in, not letting that gap open up. And very much like the team pursuit here, it's precision, surgical level precision is required. And on this part of the course, absolutely that comes into play. There's going to be some sectors where it's just you against the climb as well out there, struggling just to stay together. So Team Swedish Zwifters, this is a team to watch. No doubt they come in as on the short list of squads, but here is a very special team, especially today. I'm really excited. Now they had a second already. That was the outlier. So the two. So on the spectrum of result from season 2, Matt, what happened with the Auto ceramic speed? I was wondering, why isn't Michael Knudsen racing? He's the Everesting. He has the Everest Zwift record. Fantastic climber. A work commitment was the answer there. Critical run that they're missing on a day when you really didn't want to be missing a big hammer. That's for sure. That guy's not a hammer. He's a slider. So this man is that we're now Chigala and Matt. Every one of these teams right now is that's Jordan Shane, the Canadian, there on the front. Every team right now is more damage control until you hit the climb. You just want to water around to be in with a fighting chance by the time that you hit that the reverse KOM. The thing about the reverse KOM is there's about 300 meters of climbing before you, excuse me, I'm talking about distance, not to the bottom. Officially start the reverse KOM, climbing right there as well. This is Finesse Rockets that we've got in front of us.
Yeah, Finesse Rockets out on the course. Finesse, well, it's a 10th to soft. They've got Insured, Pedal Power, World Elite Zwifters coming after them. And here are Insured, Jake Simmons, Simon Collard, Matt Moen and Neil Ostenfeld. So a German and 3 riders from the United States of America. Now have a look at the stats. When you see the rider on the front just rolling, got Collard on the front. Now just look at the way his watts increase. He's putting out 443 watts. He'll probably do around 30 to 45 seconds on the front, depending on what the team instructions are, and the other riders will sit behind. So look, Collard well into the 400. Everybody else sat about 60 or 70 watts below of how much energy you can save, but still showing how strong these are. Look, 6.4 watts per kilogram while he's on the front, and behind they're around 1.5 watts in terms of watts per kilo for saving. I think a real good indicator there of how much you can save. He'll then swing off, get to the back, make sure he doesn't lose too much speed, but you can actually just knock off the pace by freewheeling for a couple of seconds, drift back, put back the power, and then get back onto the back wheel in front. There really is a real technique to it, and an unusual bit of headgear there for Mr. Kershaw.
Yeah, it's a fade that you do with a slam on the end, right? You fade off of the front because the rider who's pulling through, Matt, as you note, is not letting the speed drop. That's the name of the game. If a lot of these teams, when they look at their schedule, will talk about we need to keep it at 50, 51 kilometers per hour through this sector. So when you hit, you don't want it to drop to 48, then go to 52, then drop down to 50, because that starts blowing up legs right behind you. The gaps open up and things go haywire quickly. Yeah, I mean, look at it. That 430 watts, we're in with World Elite Zwifters, a team with a tremendous amount of experience. He was 700 watts. So just the raw data that we flat point look at right there tells me that they're doing a tremendous job. This is Kirkmeyer. Now, this is another team that in the World Tactical Racing League races, they're into their 94th week of team time trialing, 94th consecutive week. And this is one of the teams that they bring that has deep reservoirs with a lot of talented riders. You can see it's an all-German team here. Ingo Reichardt has been one of the hot riders of the season, as has Johannes Reckenauer, Andre Reiland, Jan Steinman, and Jakob Stenzel. That makes up this team that I definitely put them in with the shot today as well. I know, Matt, at this point I've put 8 teams into my top 3, I think. I'm putting, but it's just that kind of exciting racing. You just never know what's going to happen out here, Matt. I get so excited about thinking about possibilities, and here's a team that you have highlighted that a lot of people are saying are squad to watch, the Zwift Warrior Cycling.
Oh, definitely. I think on a course like this as well, we know they've got a lot of lighter riders. Again, 4 Japanese and an Australian. The Australian Simon Ritchie, Takato Ikeda himself with a podium spot in Innsbruck. What an impressive ride. A really aggressive ride as well. He wasn't sat in the wheels and went off towards the end. He really was a protagonist on that particular race. Watch out for him. But of course, it's not about the strongest rider, as Dave alluded to at the top of the show. It's about sticking together. And did you see that? Just Hasachi did freewheel for a little bit. He just used that freewheel just to speed the pace of dropping back, then kicked on the power and get back onto the back wheel. That was a tremendous little demonstration there of the technique that you need to learn here riding at the team time trial. Callas will be the next team up. Of course, they had the individual winner last week with Hardvard Gjeldnes, his first big win in Zwift, and they have a very, very strong team. Such depth. Martin Omdahl, excuse my pronunciations here, by the way. I'm doing my very, very best. Ovind Learning Bier, Harvard Glednes, the winner last week, as I said before, and Ole Christian Farr early in their race. And this Dave, is one of the flatter parts of the course because it really undulates before they start the foot. That very, very difficult climb.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we've seen even that much flat out there, as this course profile is next level, no doubt about it. And with the Dutch racing team now, as Joost van Bosch, Rick Ottema, Michael Voets, another rider who's had some outstanding moments along the way, and Etienne van Empel, another team with tremendous team time trial experience. It's going to be interesting to see how they get over that reverse KOM. That is going to be the story of the day. So I'm missing one rider there. It sounds like we've got them all.
Yeah, we're just missing a Kevin, I think we are, unfortunately. But occasionally we do get little bits of data drop out. But all 5 rods are there. We're just showing 4 of their stats. But they're a team that could do well on this course. And again, they're one of the teams that have been a level kit change. And this, you pointed it out as a team to watch. They did very well in the first team time trial of the series. They were 4th, but only 6 seconds behind. And it's worth reminding the viewers today of the results of that first team time trial, because the first 10 teams were split over only 26 seconds. Legion of Los Angeles in the time trial around the RGV route in France were 4th, 6 seconds behind PO Auto Ceramic Speed. Kirk, may I remember, was 2nd at 5. Canyon Esports on the same time, pretty much. It was only a couple of hundredths of the second that split those 2 squads. So I am expecting this today, Dave, to be very, very close still. Although it's a completely different course, I think at the top, it might not be just 5 or 6 seconds, but maybe the top 5 spread over 15 or 20 seconds.
Well, if I'm a director here today, Matt, I'm going to look at my team and take a very honest assessment of the talent and where we're at. And if I need to sacrifice a rider in the first 10K, and we're anticipating having time checks at 10.2 kilometers in today. So, Matt, I saw Corey Williams taking a monster pull there for Legion of LA, just like we're seeing Gardner doing it right now for Saris the Closet. I'm going to ask my closers. All right, I'm going to look at the 3 guys that I anticipate finishing. I'm going to tell them, guys, for the first half of this race, I'm going to have you sit on a bit here. Actually, the first half of the first half, to tell you the truth. But through this sector, I'm going to have you guys sit on, and we're going to use one of our workhorses here, who I'm going to ask to go above and beyond, rather than those 30 or 40 seconds. And Matt, I completely agree with you. That's the rotation that you're looking for, as this is Canyon, so it'll be interesting to see what they're doing here. But Matt, I might sacrifice a rider and try to eke out an extra 2 kilometers per hour by using that rider through this sector and realizing they're never going to make it up over that first climb, and that's okay. They've done their job.
We're looking at Canyon Esports. Of course, they were the last team off today. 10.5 minutes covering all of these teams out on the road, and we are going to get a stat up very, very shortly indeed, just to show us the fastest teams. And there we go. Well, the
5K.
The fastest team. Yeah, the fastest 5K, Kirkmare. Well, that's not too much of a surprise. Not all the teams have gone through that point at the moment, but Kirkmare are there, 6 minutes and 42 seconds. That is very, very quick indeed. And we're looking at Kiss racing now on the climb. On the climb, it's only, remember, 1.1 Ks, average gradient at 5.7%, but that doesn't really reflect the steeper sections on this climb. There are a couple of flat sections, even a little bit of a descent, and I think the teams are going to find it a big challenge to measure their effort on this climb and to make sure that the pure climbers or the better climbers don't escape. And Kirkmare here on the climb.
On these beautiful glass roads in New York, they've still got 5 together. That's a very good sign. Remembering that we've only had one. So season 1, we had an equally weighted team time trials, and points tweaked that a little bit, slightly less team time trialing. So that being said, the teams that look at this as a forte, they can't really count this one as a classic team time trial either. So you really want to make the most of the opportunities you have when you're racing at this level. And for a couple of teams, I think Vetus is a good example. This might be your breakthrough day out here. All right, it looks like some of the teams going through that first check. We were looking again. Not all of the teams had been through at 5K yet, so we've got some faster times coming, I would guess, Matt. I'm going to think that Kirkmare holds on with the top 5 time. We'll see how many squads can go a little bit better, or if anyone can. You never know. Kirkmare is certainly in the mix for a great ride out here today.
Oh no, definitely. Kirkmare setting their course on fire at the moment. This is the KRT, the KISS racing team, the first team off the ramp. Looking at some of the heart rates, 189, 194 BPM, and this is the only opportunity on this particular course to get any little bit of rest. Of course, you need to get up to 58 kilometers an hour, then you can stop pedaling, and your avatar will get into a super tuck. As you can just see, the couple of riders behind, the 3 riders that are left. This is important now for the KISS racing team. They cannot lose a rider. They've lost a couple of their riders on the climb. Holtman there is the last rider from that squad, opting for an aero helmet. As we look at the restart team, and good to see they've still got 5 riders, and that is a really nice cluster. That is the ideal situation, isn't it? Keeping together, they're clearly communicating with each other very well, and they've got half the climb done.
That was the first thing that came to my mind, Matt, was the communication. The director must be doing a tremendous job here. That's a strong rider, the Canadian there, tagged onto the group, Luc Gilbeau, that we're looking at. Jaden Yeager as well, rider out of Wisconsin. This team, well, for the team time trial, Matt, when you go back and historically look at this sport in real life, you would see 4 Soviets or East Germans or Italians or Dutch riders that were almost exactly the same in body type and composition and ability, because these races were done on mostly flat courses. Well, not in the ZRL. And because of that, it's interesting to see a team at this point with 5 together. It's a very good sign for your future as a team time trial squad. We'll see what happens later. Obviously, this is the gold standard that we're looking at now. Now, to be fair, they didn't win the first team time trial, but this team has been so incredibly consistent. I think that they probably lost a little sleep this week, though, Matt, thinking that what happened to PO Auto Ceramic Speed, it could happen to anybody. There's a lot of things you can do as a former professional yourself, Matt. I think you realize the things that most people don't think about, like flying with your shoes instead of checking them in with the baggage on the plane. All those things add up to a bunch of little tiny things that you do that ensure success. And things like, I'm going to guess that every Canyon rider's hardwired their trainer into their computer, have got top-notch internet. They make sure they pay their internet bill on time. And,
Yep.
you know, you just can't be a victim to any kind of mistake. And it's not just your legs that can let you down.
No, it's certainly is an attention to detail. And Reese Howell, of course, himself a very good rider indeed, often races on Zwift. He is their director sportif. He's not just on Discord, they've actually got a big video screen up, so he'll be piped into each of these riders. He'll be there, his big face, calling the shots, making sure they ride it as a real good collective in. Vujasan just moving up the outside, and what you might actually see on the climb a little bit more than on the flat is this bunching up as they almost like ride side by side, because when you kick up, if you look at the top right of your screen there, they've gone up this little rise, that was 12%. Rather than riding a line there, because there's not quite as much benefit to drafting when you're really slowing down and you're going up a climb, it's when gravity comes into play. You need to keep each other in sight, and then as the road flattens, get on the front. But there's a real good illustration of riding as a complete unit there, and that's no real surprise because they are a real good proponent at this sort of discipline.
Yeah, they've certainly done their homework. So looking at these time checks coming in, 14:32 is draft, and that's where they stop the clock at 10.2k in. Matt, it's surprisingly close, to tell you this truth. Restart it just 5.5 seconds back, a little more than that, 7.91 for Team Swedish. There's Vitus. Now, remembering there's a lot of climbing ahead, so we'll see a lot will change by the time we get to the finish line and put paid for this one. We're back in with Restart Racing here. Daniel Howe, Jade, Luke, and Thomas looking really good at this point. 20K, the total distance of racing. We've talked about the 319 meters along the way of vertical gain. That's the difference maker on this one. I am honestly surprised, Matt, to tell you the truth, as we're going to go jump in with Finesse next, to see these teams with these many riders still hanging on, or more than just hanging on, looking really good at this point. These squads are showing a lot of depth today.
They certainly are, and it shows that they put the practice in. There are lots of opportunities. There's so much racing in the community week in, week out, and these teams, as well as doing these races, will have taken the opportunity to ride on different courses, making sure everybody understands the kind of the art of the team time trial. You never perfect that art, but you can constantly chip away and get better and better, and that is what we're seeing. This is the Finesse rockets here, just rocketing down the KOM, that little opportunity we talked about before to have that bit of a micro rest. Jordan Chain of Canada, Karsten Ivani, Timmy Bauer, Joseph Chudik, and Alex Tenselhoff just out of the saddle there. I think they have actually lost one rider, and you can just see the other teams coming in the other direction. Remember, on this particular course, they actually loop round and then come back down part of the same way, so they're actually retreading parts of the course. And then they go around the perimeter, taking in some real interesting sights and sounds of New York City, of course, past the mighty Metropolitan Museum, as we just see Canyon Esports. And they're coming to the top of the climb here. They've topped the first part of the climb as Alex West takes that left-hand corner, and the road really does start to kick up. And good to see they've still got 5 riders here, but again, that isn't really any surprise. They're so good. But it looks like West, his job is done. He's led them in, and now he has pulled the pin.
Yeah, right at that very moment, you can see it perfectly executed there. Did the work, took a huge pull, and when it was over, that was it. He completely emptied himself for the team. Good job, Alex. Matt, I think this is fascinating, to tell you the truth. So I mentioned the community racing we do on Thursdays with WTRL. We also, of course, have nearly 10,000 people that race tomorrow in their own Zwift Racing League. And because of Discord, and we use that for work as well, I sometimes have these bizarre conversations that pop up. Now, they're always teams, but I am seeing a lot of the squads who are watching in the Community League are mentioning, and the influence of the Premier League is great here, saying, look how many guys are using disc wheels. I think we should if we have them. But then that changes everything when you look at Canyon, one of the teams that has access to disc wheels certainly, and is not choosing to use them, going for the lightweight wheels. Always fascinating to see. They're going to forego the aerodynamic advantage of that disc wheel to try to get every 1/10 of a second they can on the climb. And to tell you the truth, I don't second guess Canyon.
No, I think they know what they've done. They've clearly done their research. They know what equipment to use. And that is interesting because, as you said, several of the teams gone for the disc, and it might be the type of composition of the team. A team that know they're going to lose time on the climbs but gain on the flatter sections might opt for a disc because that's where they can get more benefit. But a team that knows they can actually take more on the uphill sections and maybe going for a slightly lighter setup. So it is really, really interesting. But I tell you what, I know that Reese Howell, the DS of this squad, the manager of this squad, will leave no stone unturned in terms of making sure that the equipment is optimized, the wheel choice is optimized as well. And of course the tactics. They did use Ollie Jones, not Ollie Jones, they used Alex West. He's a powerfully built rider, took them into the bottom of the climb, almost swung off, and his avatar came to a complete halt. We've never seen that before, Dave, have we? Because we haven't had the course, but they've clearly said this is what we need to do. We need to get to the bottom of the climb as quickly as possible. We've got 4 riders, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of time they do. Because look, PO Auto Ceramic Speed at the top of the board, 11.04 seconds clear of Dutch Racing. World of Elite Zwifters third at 13 seconds. Still very tight at the top. 27 seconds separating the top 10 teams so far. This just shows the real standard of racing we've got here, Dave.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, when you see West there, it almost looked like a technical, we call it in this sport, where it went from a lot of watts to 0 watts super quickly, or a biomechanical, you would think. But no, that was a guy finishing his shift at the coal mine, and he was done. He was out of there. So as we go back in again, Canyon, a great team to be following right now. This is incredibly close. So PO Auto coming in some fresh data for us now. Saris, the pros closet. Well, and just as I say that, we've got a new fast time. Yep, there it is. Canyon Esports with a 14:06. So that's your gold standard. Saris in at second now at that check. That was 10.2K in, so really almost exactly the midpoint. Although there's a lot to remember with the climbing. PO Auto is close. All right, this one is going to go down to, and here's the first catch that I have witnessed out here, and it looks like PO Auto Ceramic Speed going to take one down here.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. It looks like they're going to catch the Legion. It's going to be Legion of Los Angeles. Well, this is absolute. No, sorry, it could be Saris. Could it be Saris and the pros closet? I think it's Legion they're actually catching, because Legion struggling on this course. Or is it? It looks, it's Legion. It's Legion. They've actually caught Legion. Yeah, so Legion shipped 25 seconds on the climb, and that just shows how well PO Auto Ceramic Speed are going there. Foldiger, Muff, Pedersen, Tudal, Raback. Well, they have caught the American squad, who are down to 3 riders. There's lots of ride-ons going up there. This is a tremendous. They'll know the gap as well, of course. Their DS will be communicating the time gaps, the work they've got to do to close this up. They were the winners of the first team time trial of season 2. Remember, 5 seconds clear of Kirkmare. Canyon Esports only 6, and at the moment, Canyon Esports are trying to turn the tables. But the interesting thing here, Dave, look at the composition of PO Auto Ceramic Speed. They've still got 5 riders.
They are on a mission. There's no doubt the disappointment. They had some technicals early in the race last week, and then chips just didn't fall their way at the end of the race. Well, they are hyper motivated out here, as this Danish team, again, one of the few teams with 5, probably the only team at this point with 5, is even Canyon has had to give up one rider. We've mentioned that already, but they are absolutely flying. This was a team that came in with high hopes out here today, and I'm not seeing Vitas here in the top 10, so we'll do a little more data mining there. Canyon again with that 14:06. That's a bit of a stunner, to tell you the truth. So this is going to be KRT. Now they are on Cat Hill Climb right now, the infamous Cat Hill Climb in Central Park, just about 400 meters from the finish line right now, Matt. So they're going to be the first team to stop the clock out here. This will be a day to remember, as this one is just about done and dusted. Boy, putting it in the rearview mirror has got to feel good out here, as our first finishers are across the line. So they'll go into the hot seat.
They certainly will. I think it might be brief, though, as we look at this is the Vitas e-racing team. It's a little bit ragged, but they've got 3 riders out in front. There is the first. That is the first team to finish. They were the first to start. They didn't get caught by aero or no pins. They'll be pretty happy with that. And that is the situation at the top. First team to finish, and they have set a mark of 26 seconds and 55 seconds. And no pins with C Smart just moving through here. Looks like they might set the new quickest time, because remember, they started a minute behind the KISS Racing team, although they still have a little bit of a distance to go. So not a bad start by KISS Racing there. And but unsurprisingly, No Pins have lost a couple of their riders. They are another team that are opted for the aero helmets, but no disc wheels. They've opted for deep section rims. And Draft is just crossing the line now. So they've done a good time. I think Draft, that's a very, very quick team indeed. They were 2 minutes behind. So there you go, Draft hit the leaderboard. 25 minutes and 51 seconds, a full minute, Dave, ahead of Team Kiss Racing, and 39 seconds ahead. So good ride there by Draft.
Yeah, outstanding. Put a gold star next to that one. That should hold up to not only be in the top 10, maybe even a top 6 ride from Draft out there, which would be their best performance to date in season 2. All right, going in now with Vitas, and then let's see. That's going to be Restart right now that we're looking at. Amazing to see 5 guys. First off, that should get a special accommodation there, finishing with the entire team here, but not going to get in quicker than Draft. Again, 25:51. That's going to hold up for a little while out here. Matt, Swedish, Zwifters, they've got 5 as well. I'll admit, this is a good day for the league as far as if you look at the depth, not only that the teams have, but just the league overall has. These are some solid rides, and the best is yet to come. Let's see how the Swedes do.
I think this will be a good time, actually, because Dutch Racing haven't crossed the line, so it looks as if the Swedes have actually caught the Dutch out on the course, who will get their time through very, very shortly indeed. As we look at Vitus Esports out on the road, Kenway, Giglia and McGlinchey. Giglia is actually an Irishman, but he's with Italian descent. They still haven't changed the logo there, but 3 riders left. That's going to make this run into the line very, very hard, Dave, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, it is quite a conundrum when you look at Matteo, as he lives in Ireland and has for quite a while, but he does hold an Irish passport. So it sort of goes into that esports world, and also the global sport that we have. And it's more global than ever with Zwift. Northern Irishman Christopher McGlinchey up to the front here. And it's funny, he doesn't use the Northern Irish flag, which I know is available as well. So, you know what, there's a little bit of wiggle room out there. So, okay, Draft with that 25:51. You can see how close it was between Restart and Swedish, though, Matt. Just a few tenths of a second there, separating second and third. That's on top of the table right now, but things are certainly going to change as we got a lot of teams coming in. And here is Vitas Hot Soup coming through. Let's see what they got.
Yeah, Giglia, McGlinchey, Kenway just about to cross the line. 3 riders strong for the men in red. Their time will come up very, very shortly indeed. As we're just looking at the Finesse Rockets, I think it is a Finesse out on the road.
It is.
A good ride by them.
Now this will be good. This is going to be a good one here. These guys are flying. Alex Tenselhoff, a super strong rider. I believe that's Jordan Shane with them. This might be the first team to really challenge Draft here. We're going to go in with World Elite Zwifters as we'll see where that time slots in. So Finesse 32 seconds back. Boy, that Draft ride looks better and better, Matt, as time goes on here.
It does. It certainly does. I mean, Draft, just looking back, they were 11th in the first team time trial. Only 31 seconds adrift, so not bad at this effort. As we just head into the finish line now for the World of Elite Zwifters. That's a rather spectacular kit. That's a big thumbs up from me from a kit perspective, although I'm not too sure about the aerodynamic qualities of that cloth cap there. As we look at Insured now, just rolling through. I'm expecting a good ride by the guys in white here. Insured, powered by Pedal Power. Simons, Collard, Mohan, Ostenfeld and Brady. Down to 4 riders. Ostenfred, the American, in at second position there as they roll through. The team's coming through thick and fast now, but yeah, very, very good time indeed by Draft. Who is going to be the team to beat that? 25:51. World of Elite Zwifters, very, very good indeed. Only 5.5 seconds adrift, and currently 3rd place for Restart Racing at 15, and then less than a second behind them, the team Swedish Zwifters in 4th. But I am pretty sure that time is going to be detonated, if anything, if the intermediate splits are anything to go by. Well, there we go. Insured, powered by Pedal Power, roll across the line, and there we go. Kirchberg across the line. This, Dave, I think is going to be a good time.
That would have Draft, I would think, a little bit worried right now. They're on the edge of their seat. But I tell you, they punched above their weight out here today, Matt. No doubt about it as we go in. This finishing sector, they call it Cats Hill in Central Park. You're going to get to know it very well as we're going to be bringing all of the teams home here in the next few minutes. We are locked and loaded as This is the Japanese-based team, not entirely Japanese, but been a lot of fun to watch out here this year. They certainly have delivered. They're going to bring 4 riders to the line. Okay, this is where you start wondering now, Matt, how much damage did they do in the final half of the course? That was a team I'd expect to see negative splits coming from. This is going to be the Dutch.
Yeah, the Dutch powerhouse, of course, a country and a nation renowned for their prowess in the team time trial. But again, they've got 4 slightly heavier riders. Definitely they would have lost a little bit of time on that climb. I don't think this particular course suits them particularly well. Remember, they were 6th place in the opening team time trial of season 2 of the Zwift Racing League. What have the Dutch got on this finishing section? They've still got 4 riders there. Van Empel, Van der Bosch, Ottoma there. Remember, Ottoma has done his turn now. He's swung off, so they're certainly utilising their riders very, very well. Mayo Voets, of course, who won the opening individual round in Richmond. So the third counter has crossed the line. A blanket finish for the Dutch. What is going to be their squad? So Callis now, the individual winners from last week. The Norwegians clearly set a very, very good time indeed. But we're seeing lots of riders here, Dave, aren't we? Kind of take them into the final finishing straight and swing it off, and that is really the way to play it, to leave 3 riders to battle it out for the finish line.
Yeah, that's the next level of team time trialing, when you have that rider that takes one final mega pull and drops the team off at 500 meters to go, as we just saw the well-drilled Callis team doing. So this is what makes this sport so interesting. Time taken off of the 3rd rider. That was P.O. Otto that we were just looking at. Legion's going to bring it home now. These are the 3 men that have made it to the line. So this time will be taken. That's Alec Cowan coming across the line. And let's see what they can put together. I don't think this was the day that they were looking for. They've had an outstanding season 2. Back with Saris, the pros closet now. Ryan Larson's going to lead the team home, or with the squad now. They also will have sacrificed riders like the space shuttle, using a booster rocket along the way, using that speed, sacrificing riders. That's the difference out here. And that is Larson up on the front right now. Ryan, one of the big minds.
Dave, we've seen at PO Auto Ceramic Speed now leading 25:27 is their time. So they went through, they had a couple, they've 1 rider just off the back. So PO Auto Ceramic Speed currently leading. That hopefully will be a good time for Saris and the pros closet. But Canyon Esports, well, one of the riders has just broken away here. It looks like there's been a couple of gaps. Well, what is the situation there? Canyon, they have finished. So we didn't quite catch them across the line there, but look at that. PO Auto Ceramic Speed 25:27, overhauling Canyon Esports, who are 1.53 seconds behind, and then a yawning chasm of a gap to Saris and the pros closet in 3rd place. So PO Auto Ceramic Speed take that wing. Look at that, 5.11 watts per kilo. Canyon Esports so close, but they did overhaul them. They had a 5-second lead. Sorry, it's a 6-second lead at the intermediate sprint point, or the intermediate time check, should I say. They overhauled it on the second part of the course to take an absolutely sensational win, mirroring their win in the first team time trial. 3rd, Saris and the pros closet at 23 seconds. But again, there we go. The top 10 spread over only 48 seconds. But Dave, what a superb performance by PO Auto Ceramic Speed. They are back to their best.
Well, and that's their 2nd team time trial win. Meet the new boss. It's the same as the old boss. After a rough week last week, I tell you what, the old adage, how do you eat an elephant, Matt? 1 bite at a time. Well, it's 1 point at a time in the ZRL, and that's all they got, because Canyon did not slip. That was what P.O. Otto was looking for, was a little more help. They would have loved to have seen Saris, the pros closet, who ended up in 3rd today, coming over the top of Canyon, but Canyon does not falter. It's nice to see P.O. Otto Ceramic Speed step it up. Remembering they didn't have Knudsen today, and they still have a win like that. Draft, though, that's the standout ride. If you want to talk about an outlier, they hold on for 4th. They were in the hot seat for a lot longer than people were anticipating, I think, Matt.
Yeah, they're going to, I think Draft are going to be exceptionally happy with that ride. I mean, 11th place in the opening team time trial, but 4th place for them today. As you said, a real outlay of a ride. They're a team that have been around a while, but they certainly got it right on the night. Paced that particular course so well, but that's a real surprise. But a big gap this time between